Hello, folks. I am Rebecca, and I'm joined again because it's been a few years with the lovely Laura Towler. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that it's a really difficult time in your life, and you're so busy taking care of two little kids without Sam. And I just really appreciate you coming on my stream today. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for having me. And it's been a good few years since we last spoke, and so much has changed. I got married, I had two children.
Yeah.
Patriotic Alternative. So yeah, a lot has changed. So I have half an hour. My mum is downstairs watching my two daughters. So
Sure. We can kind of barrel through this. I would assume that almost everybody that's listening is already familiar with Sam's case, but if you want to give, because I'm sure some Americans are not super familiar with what happened. If you want to give a brief overview of the counterterrorism case against Sam and how all of this happened, I'm particularly interested in the plainclothes raid because that's not typically something that happens in America. Not that we're like in a much better situation than you guys, but I was shocked to hear that because how did you even know they were police officers? So if you could just give like a little brief overview so that we can get into what's changed recently in the case, that would be great.
Yeah, so Sam was arrested over 3 years ago now, and he was arrested for three things, two which were terrorism and one which was just a public order offence. They took him into the police station and then immediately dropped the two terrorism things and just stuck with the public order offence, which if you're in the States and you're not sure what that is, it's a lot less serious. They then carried out this massive investigation, raided our home. So Sam was on the way to work. They basically jumped on him, arrested him, took his keys, and then came to our house, let themselves in. It was really early in the morning. I was in bed. I heard somebody walking up the stairs, and I thought it was Sam, and he'd forgotten something. And all of a sudden, 5 men and 1 woman walked into my bedroom with plain clothes, and they were like, "Give me your phone, give me your phone," because I was sat there with my phone in my hand. I was pregnant at the time. I just found out that I was pregnant 6 days prior. And I honestly, that was the scariest moment of my life. I thought that they were coming to kidnap me or murder me. I didn't know who they were. And it wasn't until a few hours later that they told me that they were counterterrorism. They told me that they were police before that. And after a while, they handed me a warrant. But because Sam is over 18, they wouldn't really tell me much. So I gave them my phone because I legally had to. And then they spent 7 hours basically raiding our house and taking all our things, all of our computers, phones, our PlayStation 4, notebooks, cameras, absolutely everything, which they still have, by the way. The case is completely over now, but they still have all that stuff. And then they carried out this big investigation. Oh, Sam's just phoning me. Let me just ask him to phone back in half an hour, if that's okay. I'm really sorry.
Sure. No worries.
All calls are logged and recorded and may be listened to by a member of prison staff.
Sorry, one second.
To accept this call, please hang up now.
I don't know what's going on there. That happens sometimes. It gets cut off. So they took all our stuff and they looked through everything, and then they went quiet. And for about 2 years, they basically tried all these dirty tactics to try and get something on Sam, offering him things, threatening him with things, contacting me and trying to get me to get him to admit to stuff, all this kind of stuff. And then they went quiet for 2 years and nothing happened. So we said, can we have our stuff back? Like, make a decision, either charge Sam or drop it. And that week they decided to charge him for the stickers. They never really cared about the stickers. They always wanted something more. So then a year later, it went to court, and he was found guilty of distributing written material with the intention to stir up racial hatred. So it was, if you're not familiar with his case, basically he uploaded an archive of stickers to the internet. People could download the stickers and place them in public places. The prosecution said that all of the stickers were legal. They also said the truth is no defence in court. So even if you can argue that the stickers are true, that's not a defence. And they also said that 0 crimes had been committed because of the stickers. So Sam was convicted of his intentions behind publishing legal, truthful stickers that resulted in no crimes. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. And the judge said that you will serve no more than 1 year in prison. So that means that he'll serve 1 year behind bars or less, and 1 year out on license. So you'll have certain rules that you have to follow, but you can live in your home again. So yeah, he's currently in prison at the moment. There's been a lot of publicity internationally regarding his case, and lots of people are defending him and his right to freedom of speech. Even people who don't necessarily agree with us politically are defending him, which is great to see. But yeah, he's basically a political prisoner. You know, it says on the CPS website, these things were key signs of media's ideology. Well, your ideology is your politics. So you've just admitted that you've sent him to prison for his politics. So yeah, he's a political prisoner. There is a campaign to try and get him out as early as possible, and he is working on his appeal. But it's a slow process, and it's likely that by the time his appeal is finished, he'll probably be out anyway. So yeah, it's just a really bad situation, but that's where we are at the moment.
I was very surprised to find out that all 12 jurors found him guilty.
Yeah, it was a jury trial. It was, if I can remember correctly, it was 3 foreign people and 9 British people.
I wonder what happened there.
Majority men. Well, the interesting thing is they so you have to nominate someone to sort of like lead the jury and speak on behalf of the jury, and they nominated the Pakistani guy to do that. So I'm not sure if he was sort of like leading the conversation around the back or what. But my opinion on that is that they just weren't confident enough to argue for someone's freedom of speech to a foreigner. You know, if a foreigner says, oh, well, that's racist, you know, I've experienced racism, all they had to do was say, well, he has a right to freedom of speech, and none of them had the balls to say that. Right. So they all found him guilty.
And they also introduced stickers that were not part of Sam's archive.
Yeah, they introduced stickers that were a lot more extreme than the ones in Sam's archive. And then they had to admit in court that they were not anything to do with Sam. And they did lots of little things like this during the trial, but they're allowed to, legally, they're allowed to enter any evidence that they want into the trial to, you know, build up like a fake character of Sam. They're allowed to do that. And it's up to Sam, when he's up there, to debunk it in front of the jury. And if the jury buy it, brilliant. If they don't, then it's done. You can't do anything about it.
What an absolute nightmare. So he was at Leeds for a while, and that was mostly white British in Leeds?
Yeah, well, actually, Leeds is a lot more diverse, to use one of their words. So it was majority white in Leeds prison, but there was a Muslim gang there, and there were people of other races as well. Sam actually made, I don't want to say friends, because it's not like they're going to stay in touch when they get out, but he had a good relationship with the leader of the Muslim gang, because they were talking about like Zionism and, you know, that kind of stuff. So he actually got on with him quite well. Enemy of my enemy and all that. But yeah, so they, after 3 months of him being in Leeds, they moved him to Hull, which is about an hour and a half away from where we live. So it's not the end of the world, because it's not like they sent him down to the, you know, southern part of the country, but it's a bit further. Hull is actually entirely white. The prison is like 99.99% white. But we've had a lot of issues since moving to Hull, such as the children issue as well.
Right. So what happened with Sam being unable to see his children? Apparently you couldn't speak about his children. There have been some developments over the last few days.
Yeah, so basically for the first week or so, the first week and a half, everything was fine at Hull, and Sam was talking to his children. Well, so our children are 2.5 and 8 weeks old. So when I say talking to his children, it's not like, you know, in an in-depth conversation. But so he was talking to them on the phone, receiving letters from them. He's calling me back again. Sorry.
No worries.
I'll just try and catch him while I can.
In England, all calls are logged and recorded and may be listened to by a member of prison staff. If you do not wish to accept this call, please hang up now.
I don't know why it does this. It's so annoying. Yeah, it just cuts you off sometimes. Yeah, so for the first week and a half, he was able to we had a visit as well, you know, face-to-face visit. And then after a week and a half, they started blocking emails, cancelled the children off the visits, did all this stuff. They didn't tell Sam what was going on. I found out by emailing them and complaining. And they basically said that Sam had been identified as a PPRC, which is a person posing risk to children. And the reason that they gave was racist literature, posters and insignia, and racist and offensive attitudes. So that apparently means that he's a risk to children. And we were like, well, why wasn't he a risk when he was in Leeds? Why wasn't he a risk for the first week and a half at Hull? And they couldn't answer that. So they put all these restrictions on place, meaning that he couldn't have visits from his children, but he also couldn't speak to them on the phone. He wasn't allowed photographs of his children. I wasn't even allowed to mention them to him. It was basically the full force of restrictions that you'd imagine to go on like some sort of child murderer or something. It was just so extreme. And that went on for a couple of weeks, and basically at Patriotic Alternative, which is the organisation I work at, we organised a campaign where we asked people to write into Hull Prison. We wrote a template email that people could send on the PA website detailing everything that had happened, asked people to contact the prison, and because of public pressure they dropped all of the restrictions apart from face-to-face visits. So they said that they were inundated with emails, which was great, because I don't know how many emails they got, but it could have potentially been hundreds. So thank you to everyone who wrote to the prison. But they dropped all of the restrictions apart from the face-to-face visits. And they said that they would have dropped that as well, but they'd already passed the referral over to Children's Services. So they can't pass it over and then be like, we've changed our mind, can we have it back? So an assessment happened, which they fast-tracked it, so we didn't have to wait for this assessment. It's already happened. That was basically me just talking to the social worker and giving my opinion on whether I think Sam is a risk or not. And then I'm just waiting for her report at the moment. So her report hopefully will say Sam is no risk, he can have visits again. But we're just waiting for that to come back, and that should come back any day now, hopefully tomorrow, because it's not come through today.
So outrageous. So you had to go through your birth by yourself.
Yeah.
And Sam has never met your new child, or has he met
He's
the baby?
met her 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah, in almost 2 months. Yeah.
But they changed so much in those first few months, and I've heard you talk about how you're so sad that he's losing these milestones with your children, and I can't imagine what that must feel like for you. I mean, Sam, of course, is suffering, but you are also suffering. This is just such a miscarriage of justice.
I feel for Sam. I really feel for Sam, because it's hard work doing everything by myself outside. Obviously raising a toddler and a newborn 24 hours around the clock by myself. And I do have support from friends and family. But also Sam and I are self-employed. So I'm trying to keep Grandma Towler ticking over and doing the work that I do at PA. But for me, I don't think it's as bad as what Sam's going through, because I still get to spend every day with our children and experience everything and see everything. And Sam's just missing it. Our newborn baby is now smiling. She's holding her head up when she does tummy time. She's making sounds, vowel sounds and a few consonants and that with her mouth. And he's not seen any of it. So if I can catch it on film, he gets to see a video of it. Look at him when he gets out, because I can't show him videos until he gets out. But he's just missing it all. And he's such a hands-on dad, with our older daughter, Catherine, who's 2.5. He's just such a he dances with her, he helps to change her nappy, he puts her to bed, he reads her stories. And then our youngest daughter, Violet, she's less than 2 months, they don't know each other, and it shouldn't be like that. He should have this strong relationship and he should be building these bonds with her, all because he's a political prisoner. So what they've taken away from us, even if his case is appealed successfully in the future, we can't get it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's a huge element to this. They want to, the judge said this is a deterrent. They want normal white British people to look at your situation and be like, I can't tolerate that outcome if I stand up to what's going on. And it'll create a chilling effect on the population. That's exactly what they're going for. And the irony of them breaking up a white family because you spoke out about what's happening to white British children, and then treating him like he's a rapist or a murderer is just, I think that everybody should be so appalled by this. It should be basically all that anybody is talking about on the right. I feel like it's not getting enough traction in America, especially.
Well, it's not funny, but the funny thing is, when a lot of the trial focused on Sam raising awareness of what we call in Britain grooming gangs, and we're on YouTube, so I'll stick to that language for now. And he was raising awareness about this, and they were saying, it's a nuanced issue, and it's something that we need to give some thought to. But they basically denied it was happening. And when we went in for the day of Sam's sentencing, we were sat in the waiting room opposite the Kirklees grooming gang, which was, I think it was 23 Pakistani men and 2 women who had, again, we're on YouTube, so I won't say what they've done, but you can imagine what they've done to children over the course of many, many years. We were literally sat opposite them, 23 of them. And meanwhile, Sam's getting done for talking about this issue. It's like it's literally happening in your courthouse.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, a lot of the issues that Sam was raising awareness of with the stickers, it was just things like these grooming gangs, demographic change, citing stickers from the government census, statistics from the government census, just factual stuff, you know, no encouragement of violence, no racial slurs, no talking about people in a derogatory way or anything like that. It was literally just saying his opinions on immigration and sharing facts. And also, out of the 310 stickers, only 13% of them were about race, ethnicity, diversity, multiculturalism. A lot of the stickers were actually criticising like the media or academia or the main political parties, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does sometimes feel very surreal that we're living through this. Mm-hmm. But I do think it has backfired, you know, just to throw something a bit more positive into the mix, because the state have really shown themselves as being very weak and very fragile. You know, to attack a man like Sam, who's just a good family man, for sharing facts, it does show that they're scared of people talking about those facts. And it's also invigorated a lot of people to become activists, because they're like, if you can do this to Sam, you can do this to anyone.
Absolutely.
We've had a lot of people join PA because of it. And we've also had a lot of people who were with PA but not active, you know, they'd phased out over time. They're like, I'm coming to this demo, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So the judge did say that he wanted to deter people, but it had the opposite effect. It lit a fire under a lot of people, I think.
I mean, the idea that they're trying to position you both as these crazed Nazis is somewhat hilarious, because you're both, by all accounts, just such pleasant people. So I think that anybody in the general public that has heard you speak or looked at your situation has got to be like these people are a danger to Britain. Really, these people. So I'm hoping that it has awakened in everybody this grave misjustice that's happening to you, and the cruelty, the absolute cruelty to you and Sam and your children.
Yeah, I mean, the impact that it's had on our children as well is something that they haven't considered, or maybe they have considered and they don't care about it. I mean, like I said, our newborn baby, she doesn't know what's going on, but she still is missing out on having a father figure there. It won't matter too much until she's a little bit older. But Sam's missing her. But our toddler, like I said, she's so close to Sam. And then all of a sudden, he's gone. And then a new baby enters the mix. So 2 big life moments happening for her, you know, in succession. And then all of a sudden, she's not allowed to talk to her dad. You can't talk to him on the phone. You can't visit him. And she's asking me, like, you know, she says, Daddy home? Like, when's Daddy coming home? Daddy home? Daddy home? And I can't explain it to her because she's not old enough to understand. She doesn't talk. She's 2. So, you know, she doesn't. And what do you say anyway? Your dad's done something bad, so he's in prison, or the state hates us because we do this, so they've attacked you. How do you explain that to a toddler anyway? So she's missing her dad, and I'm just thankful that the sentence isn't too long, and the latest that he will be out will be the end of February. You know, 1 year, I suppose. If you look at the rest of our lives, it's not that long, and you know, those relationships will be able to be savoured and fixed. You know, there are political prisoners out there that have got longer sentences. We have an activist at PA called James Costello, who doesn't have children, but he got 5 years for sharing a religious holy book. So not even his own words, but for sharing a religious holy book that was written in the 70s. It's an American holy book, actually. And just because he distributed that holy book and it had lines that they said were violent in, well, most holy books have lines that, you know, the Torah does, the Quran does, the Bible does. They were like, no, this is violent. And they sent him down for 5 years. So he'll serve just over 3 years, potentially. And there are other ones as well, you know, Sven Longshanks, he got longer. And they're just the ones at PA. There are other political prisoners too.
It's so outrageous. And Sam is slated to get out at the end of the year?
Yeah, so he went down on the 1st of March, so the judge said you'll serve no more than a year inside. So the latest that they can let him out is the 28th of February. That will be 1 year, but we're hoping potentially he could get out before Christmas, hopefully, depending on the governor and what he wants to do.
I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this. I know that there have been petitions and that people were filing complaints. At this point, what helps, especially people in the U.S., what can we do to help you guys?
Well, there's the Free Sam Melia petition. We're trying to get it to 5,000 signatures. Now, I know people think petitions are a bit lame and people will be like, the government are not going to listen, what's the point? But there's another reason for signing this petition. Sam's probation team, who are responsible for his release, have said that they have seen the public's response to Sam's case. So they need to manage his release and whatever measures they put in place upon his release very carefully, because they understand there is a lot of public anger. So if you could add your name to that petition, Sam can present that during his probation meetings and say, look, I have got a lot of support. And, you know, even if there's just a 1% chance that they might let him out a little bit earlier, that would be great. But also, write to Sam, like, even if you don't know him, drop him an email or send him a letter. He honestly said that the contact that he's getting from people is keeping him going, because he's locked in his cell for 22 hours a day. With nothing to do. You know, he can watch TV, he can read books, but he doesn't even get time outside. They have like a cage that you can go into, so he never gets to walk on grass or, you know, see nature or anything like that. So
they don't have time outside?
They have a cage. It's like an outside cage at Hull. So at Leeds they had a yard where you could go out and do some exercise and run around, but at Hull it's like a bird cage. It's hard to explain. I mean, I've not seen it. I know what Sam's told me. He says it's like a cage where you can go into this cage and like get some fresh air.
But no exercise?
It's too small to exercise in. There's like 100 people on his wing. Yeah. There is a gym. He can go to the gym for 45 minutes twice a week. And you eat your food in your cell as well. You don't even get to, you know, mingle with people during meal times. So if you go to the Patriotic Alternative website, Sam's contact details are on there, or they're on my Telegram channel as well. And just write him a letter or send him an email. And even if you don't know him, and just say, you know, I've seen your story. I just want to let you know that we haven't forgotten about you, and I disagree with what's happened. And I don't know, maybe even send him a nice piece of poetry, or, you know, just something to entertain him for a little bit, a puzzle. That would be the biggest way to help, I think.
Okay. So I was doing some research for this interview yesterday, and I came across a Times radio takedown of Patriotic Alternative from like a year ago. I don't know if you saw that. And they were absolutely perplexed by the growth of the far right. They just couldn't understand it. They were saying, like, you can just tell by the people that are speaking in Patriotic Alternative that they're just morons. I was like, you mean the incredibly eloquent Mark Collette and Laura Towler? Like, nobody thinks these people are morons. They're just speaking truth to power, and they're saying what everybody is thinking in the country. And I don't know if they're actually confused by this, but you do seem so optimistic about the future of your country, and that is a breath of fresh air, and it's something that we all need to try to do. Do you think that there's any stopping nationalism in Britain?
Well, if we're morons, then destroy us in a debate. Do you know what I mean? We've got a popular organisation. There's no doubt in that. Invite us on TV, debate us, and destroy us, and put it to bed. But they won't. And when they talk about us, they have to misrepresent us. When they write about us in the media and ask for a statement, they'll cherry pick one sentence from the statement instead of putting our actual arguments forward. So, you know, if we're so bad, and why do you want us to be suspended from social media if we're so thick? Let us be on there and let us put people off from nationalism. So, yeah, obviously they don't think we're morons. They change from saying that we're, you know, thick, uneducated, violent idiots to saying that we're incredibly dangerous and, you know,
which is it, right?
Nationalism is a massive threat. And it's like, yeah, which one is it? You change your mind. Sometimes in the same article, you change your mind. But just seeing how fragile and just seeing how weak the system is makes me think that we are doing the right thing. You know, the way that they attack us, it makes me think we're doing the right thing. And PA has existed for 4.5 years now, and they've not been able to stop us. And even though a few of our guys have gone to court and gone to prison, it's been for things that they've done pre-Patriotic Alternative, and Patriotic Alternative were not mentioned during their trials. During Sam's trial, PA wasn't mentioned because it's all legal activity. So it tells me that, first of all, the work that we're doing is effective because they're responding to it in a very Pavlovian way. But it also tells me that what we're doing at the moment is legal as well. And I don't know if they'll change the laws in the future. I don't know if they'll try to, but at the moment I think we're on the right track. And ultimately I just have faith in our people. I think our people are a fantastic people. We've overcome so much, and we don't need to convert 90% of the population. We just need a very dedicated, hardworking, intelligent, small percentage, and a small group of people can create a massive amount of change if they stick to it. So that's where I am. And also, nobody wants to follow someone who is all doom and gloom and thinks that we're going to lose. Like if you have someone saying, "Oh, we finished," no one's going to want to join that organization. So yeah, I don't like it when like doom mongers come over to my Telegram channel and they're like, "England is lost." I'm like, look, if you think England's lost, you go away and sulk by yourself. We're the ones who are still fighting for it.
And I heard you say something really profound about posterity and why you're doing this. Somebody that was interviewing you asked, like, why do you think it's worth it that you're putting yourself out there and you're putting yourself in a dangerous and vulnerable position? And you said something that I actually said the other day on my stream with Blackpilled. If things get worse, I want to be able to tell my daughters, because I also have 2 daughters, like, Mom did what she could at the time, that she did everything she could to try to stop this. And I heard you say that, and I just want to reiterate that point for people that see this happening and they're afraid about the consequences. You want to feel at the end of your life like you did something, like you did the best that you could. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as you know, I have 2 daughters, age newborn baby and age 2.5, and I don't want to pass a responsibility to fix things onto them. I want them to have a nice life and be safe and be proud of who they are, be able to tell the truth and be prosperous as well. And that's why I think ultimately it's up to our generation to fix this. And if the country gets worse and worse and worse, and then, one day I'm old and my daughters say, "Was it like this when you were little?" And then I go, "Well, it wasn't as bad." And then they're like, "Well, why didn't you do anything?" I don't want to say to them, "I was scared," or "I didn't want to be called racist," or, I wanted to be part of polite society. I want to be able to look them in the eye and say, I did everything that I could to try and change this. And I know that at least, even if things are bad, I know that my conscience will be clear. So yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm changing the world or that Patriotic Alternative is changing the world, but we're honestly doing everything that we can. And sometimes we might make a mistake and then learn from that and change things, but we're involved in this for right reasons, and it is because we care about our children and the children of other people as well, and we want to create a better homeland for them. Yeah, so if anyone is listening, and if you've not heard of Patriotic Alternative, we are Britain's largest and most active nationalist organisation. We work on things like moving the Overton window, so getting the topic of demographics into the public consciousness. And we also act as a pressure group, so we've held a number of protests and had like migrant hotels shut down and drag queen story hour events cancelled. And there's loads of things that we do, community building as well, helping out local people, cleaning up areas, doing homeless outreach. And then there's the electoral route as well. We've got 4 candidates standing in the election next month. The Electoral Commission won't allow us to be a political party, so we stand for other parties and help to campaign with other parties. But yeah, it's an exciting organisation to be part of, and it's fun as well. Everyone's friends and everyone gets on really well. So yeah.
Well, that was my guest, Laura Towler. Please support her in every way that you can. She has Grandma Towler's tea. I've linked that below. Support Patriotic Alternative. They're a fantastic organization. I think that nobody is doing more for Britain than Patriotic Alternative. You guys do great work. Write to Sam. All of the links are below. Please help out where you can. Share this video. Tell Sam's story. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the audience as well.
Goodbye, guys.
It's been fun.
Oh, thank